Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Natural Food Pantry Education Series. Joining me today is my guest, Dr. Jacinthe Desmarais, who is here to inform us on the powerful superfood elderberry. Dr. Desmarais studied chiropractic, osteopathy, and naturopathy and had a clinical practice for 23 years before retiring. She is the co-founder of Suro and the formulator of Suro elderberry syrup. Welcome, Jacinthe. It's lovely to have you with us. I love that we get to join each other remotely like this through technology. You're coming to us from your home, your farm, located where? Can you tell the viewers where you're coming?
Yeah, we're south of Montreal. It's the town is a small town called Saint Bernard de la Colle, Saint Bernie for nickname, and yeah, we're just 1 mile north of the U.S. border here in Quebec.
Awesome. I'd love to start this conversation having you share with the listeners how you developed this passion for elderberry and grew your passion into a successful business.
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. It's sort of our life story. Um, about 20 years ago, my husband Sylvain and myself, we bought the property where we're at now. And my husband was looking for an agriculture project. He didn't know at the time what it would be, but he was looking for what to grow here. So studying, different possibilities. Apples grow well in the area, pears as well. And meanwhile, as you mentioned, I studied in natural medicine, so I love, healing with any natural remedies as much as possible, when possible. So as a hobby, I started to hunt down on this property what was growing that was food or medicine, natural medicine. So I found lots of things, like I'm sure most land that you would go on, it's full of different things. There's lots of fern here that you can eat. We've got, of course, dandelions, like most people, big maple bush, plantain, lots of nettle as well growing here, and of course, elderberries. So, but before you knew it, I had this little natural pharmacy in the basement that was growing with all of these little plants, drying them up and making sure I had everything on hand, like also bark from I'm looking for the word here, white birch. Uh, Different things like that. So, of course, elderberry became a bit more popular in our home because I started to make. We have a friend trying to climb on my leg here. No, he didn't make it. Sorry about that. So, elderberry became popular in our household because I was making elderberry extract and elderberry syrup. And meanwhile, my husband was still trying to see what would grow well for this type of land. And one day my mother-in-law said, can you make for my friends some of your extract? Because my friends are, looking at how healthy I am. And they're like, how come you're never sick or rarely sick in the winter? And that was sort of the spark. I started to make some for her. And my husband's like, what are you doing? I said, oh, it's for your mom. And it's elderberry extract. It's to help ward off cold and flu. And we started to look around, and he realized there was no one in Canada growing elderberry for that purpose. At the time, elderberry was grown mainly for wine or for food colorant, and of course for pies, because it's a great pie maker as well. But nobody was doing it for usage in natural remedies. So he started to mingle that project, and next thing you know, I would say elderberry ended up choosing us rather than us choosing elderberry because it just grows so easily here. It's a weed. It grows on the side of the ditches. It likes to be close to water, but not too much in water. So we started with 3,000 bushes. The whole family came and helped us plant that, and eventually grew it to 12,000 bushes. And we also have other farms locally in Quebec that help provide us with more elderberries so that we don't run out making our products. So that was sort of like how it started.
Did you know about elderberry before you bought the property?
Well, I knew of the medicinal properties, but I had no clue that it grew in Canada.
Okay.
And so when I did go on my hunt for what's growing here. I bought, many books to find out what was growing here to help, of course, identify it. And then when I saw elderberry, I thought, I saw this around here somewhere. When I had first seen it, I thought it was like a poisonous plant, and I didn't really dare play with it. And then eventually, with the guide, I was able to ID the plant and go, no, this is a good one. So the one that we have growing in the ditch is a wild elderberry, but it's called Sambucus canadensis. So here in Canada, what grows wild is Sambucus canadensis. It's a subspecies of the European elderberry, which has the same properties. But lo and behold, back in those days, it wasn't something that was very popular. Even though I said a couple people grew it for wine and pies and things like that, it wasn't as popular, let's say, as blueberry.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love that you took something that grows naturally on your property. Like you said, it's like a weed. It's so common there, and built it into a business. That's absolutely fascinating. And as a holistic nutritionist, I really value the whole concept you mentioned at food as medicine, right? What kind of medicinal properties can we get right through diet, through food? So can you tell our viewers a little bit about elderberry and its therapeutic benefits? What is it about elderberry that makes it a superfood?
Oh, yes, sure. One of the things I was really surprised when we started to look at the charts, of this fruit compared to other fruits is, like you said, antioxidants. Elderberry is super dark purple, has a lot of anthocyanins that give it that purple color, but it actually has 2 to 3 times more antioxidants than blueberries and then cranberries. So that was like, oh, how come nobody's growing this? It's such a great superfood. And as we'll discuss a little bit, it has naturally antiviral properties. So it's a very old tradition. It was here in Canada years ago, also from Europe. People would take elderberry against cold and flu. But, again, it's not something that we knew that was growing here. But what I thought was not even more, this is already pretty great, but pretty amazing is that the amount of vitamin C there is in those little berries. If you compare 1 pound of orange to 1 pound of elderberry, you have 80% as much vitamin C in elderberry than you do in an orange. So I thought, wow, that's great for a northern fruit. And also, well, when you think cold and flu, it's great that this little berry has those properties, but also is super rich in vitamin C. So it's pretty amazing. So you could use elderberry anywhere. The same that you use blueberries. So like you said, as a superfood, you could put it, if you're lucky to have a bush, put it in your smoothies, in your yogurt, your cereals, anything, that can be fruited up. It's just an amazing fruit, bringing lots of fiber too. So as far as the antiviral properties, well, I should say before I talk about the antiviral properties that another thing that struck me for elderberry was when you look at the bush, every part of the bush can be used in natural medicine. So you can use the root, you can use the leaves, the bark, the flowers, the berries. Hippocrates used to call it the medicine chest, because if you had one elderberry bush, that was actually sort of a tradition. You would give your kids one bush when they went away, because if they had that, chances are they had a remedy for lots of stuff. So for us, we work mainly with the elderberry and the elderflower, but you could use the whole bush. We talked a little bit about the fact that there was antiviral properties. So if I go back to the old textbooks of herbalism, we often find that elderberry and elderflower is used when it's cold and flu season. But it's more recently in the, towards the end of the 1990s and early 2000 that a lot of research came out showing that the elderberry actually has antiviral properties. So what does that mean? Well, I'm sure everyone these days is used to seeing little pictures of viruses. You see this little round ball and all those little spikes. So an antiviral property acts in different ways, but the way elderberry does, one of the key factors is it actually attaches itself onto those little arms. So in a way, it's sort of like handcuffing the virus, and the virus can't penetrate our cells, because that's how viruses cause infection. They penetrate our cells and then they replicate, as opposed to bacteria who, are more independent. They don't need to go into our cells like viruses. So viruses are a little opportunistic. They need to get into our cells and then make many little viruses go viral, as we call it in the internet jargon. So that's where elderberry is great. It's sort of like handcuffing it, or like a bodyguard, or blocking the viruses. That's one mechanism. Another one is it's making the cell membranes a little bit harder to penetrate. So different studies show that mechanism. Other studies also show that elderberry in general will slow down replication. So once you start to get an infection, it does slow down that multiplication. And it also helps if you've got symptoms of cold and flu. It helps to get better faster. So that's in the berry. Like I said, in the old days, we used both. So the flower is still good. But if you're thinking, I want to help prevent cold and flu, you'd have more chances using elderberry. And when you think of elderflower, you think of that part of the plant for congestion or fever, because it's a natural diaphoretic, so it helps to sweat. And it's also natural expectorant. So expectorant is like the snowblower, helps to move out the mucus, clear the sinuses and clear the lungs. So ideally, if you're thinking, I'd like to use elderberry to sort of, assist me in the winter and help me stay healthy, you can use a product that has just elderberry. But if you have symptoms, sore throat or cough, then ideally you want to combine the two, because you want the antiviral, but you also want to help with the symptoms, the fever and the cough and those things.
Lovely. I'm learning so much. I had no idea that you could use all parts of the plant. That's awesome. And the flower, so Suro makes elderflower products and makes elderberry products as well, right?
Exactly.
And I know Suro has quite a diverse line of products. So would you be willing to share a little bit about, maybe the top 3 or 4 selling products?
Yeah, sure. So if you're thinking, like I said, prevention of cold and flu, among our best sellers are this one, which is the elderberry extract, and this one here, which is the elderberry concentrate. If you remember in the beginning, I talked about my mother-in-law and how she uses one of our products. She uses the elderberry extract. She takes 10 drops per day. She's 90 years old this year. And she finds that she, hardly ever gets cold and flu, or if she does, it, tends to pass pretty fast. So those are the two that are the best well-known in terms of just exclusively elderberry product. I want to again show this one. What's nice about this one is that it's only elderberry. There's nothing else. If I compare with this, let me turn it so you see it. The extract, of course, we need a medium to extract the berries. So in this case, it's sugarcane alcohol. But in this case, what we do is we put strictly elderberry juice. And to get it super concentrated, 5-to-1, we use freeze drying technology. So we freeze dry a portion of that juice. And when you freeze dry, what's great is it's cold environment. So you keep your medicine's properties. And it ends up being like a very little fine powder. So we put that elderberry powder in more elderberry juice. So by the time you use 1 teaspoon of this, you're actually using 5 teaspoons worth of elderberry. So remember when we said elderberry can be your food? Well, this one is great for that because you can use it as a food. You can put it in your smoothies. You can put it over your yogurt. And lots of our clients, what they love to do is make gummies with this product. Since it's just elderberry, they can make super healthy gummies that, don't have a lot of sugar or, ingredients. They can pick their own ingredients. So that product is really loved for that. So as mentioned, I would use those two more if I'm thinking of prevention, staying healthy. I wouldn't use it all year round, although you can because it's very safe. But more like seasonally this time of year until like March or April when things stabilize. Now, the other product that is really appreciated is our elderberry syrup. So this is our regular formula, and this is our kids formula. So they're very, very similar. The only difference is one ingredient. In the regular formula, we have a bit of echinacea and we have a bit of alcohol from the extracts. So if someone prefers no alcohol, whether they be adult or kids, they can go for the kids one because it's alcohol free. And if you're avoiding echinacea, go for the kids, it's alcohol free. So this is our most popular product. I really love this one because it's, the purest, not the purest elderberry, because the other one had just elderberry, but it really blends the power of elderberry with other great ingredients. So we put whole berries, we just remove the seeds, but we also have raw honey. So when you have a sore throat or a cough, if you're taking raw honey, you're getting also the antibacterial effect from honey. So it tastes yummy, but the honey is not to make it taste yummy. It's really to make it efficient. So it acts in two ways. You get the syrup, you get the elderberry as the antiviral, but you also have that local effect in your throat from the raw honey. There's also apple cider vinegar, another great antibacterial. And I don't know if you're familiar with propolis. Propolis is actually made by bees. They take the sap from the trees and they mix it with their saliva and they put that around their hives. For them, it's a protection. It's a natural antifungus and antibacterial as well. But when we make an extract from it, we get those benefits too. So for upper respiratory issues, it's just really fantastic. So the kids one for those who prefer no alcohol. Otherwise, the regular formula is approved for 2 years old and over. And like I said, it works in two places right away. Acts where you have the sore throat or if you have the tickle and the cough. And at the same time, get the antiviral effect. And remember, I said, if you're starting to have some symptoms, it would be a good idea to combine elderberry and elderflower. So those do that. They combine the berry and the flower. So we've got our handcuffing system with the elderberries, and we also have the elderflowers to help with, the congestion. And if you're starting to have a bit of fever. So like what I also love is the fact that we make it with just whole berries. It's not just the juice. So when you actually pour it in your cup, you'll see sometimes little pieces of berries. So shake it a little bit because the berries tend to go to the top, but use it at the first sign of cold and flu. It's actually one of those things that should be in the pharmacy. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, you don't, have to go somewhere and get it. You can right away
I was just going to say it's a must-have in the medicine cabinet. Now, How long is it good for once it's open? Does it need to be refrigerated?
So we recommend to refrigerate it, and the syrups are good for 3 to 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Quite a long time, even opened. And the reason is the raw honey, the apple cider, in the end, they also help, they're natural preservatives and they're two foods that, don't spoil. So we have just the right dosage that the syrup is good for a long time. So if you have someone in the family who needs it, but then thankfully they're fine, well, the bottle will be good again later down the road for the next person.
And what a sweet and tasty treat. Do most people take it straight from the spoon, or do more people mix it in with water or smoothie or something?
Most people take it straight. Yeah, okay. When we do expositions where people can try it, occasionally people say, oh my goodness, this is so sweet. But I need to specify there's no sugar. There's only honey, so for sure you will taste the sweetness. But if you go back to the context of having a sore throat and having a cough, it's a good kind of sweetness. It's beneficial and will help heal with its antibacterial properties.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for people who are prone to colds and flus throughout the winter or are concerned about viruses, colds and flus that are circulating, it would be good for them right from the fall, the beginning of fall, maybe to start taking the concentrate and then
Yeah.
have the syrup in the medicine cabinet as a remedy to take when the symptoms, at the onset of symptoms, or maybe if somebody in the house is sick. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Use the concentrate or the extract in prevention. The extract is also good. You talked about how long it's good for. So this one is good also for 4 years, even opened.
Wow.
The concentrate, that's a shorter lifespan. And the reason is if you have just strict wholesome, elderberry juice by itself, it can't stay forever. So must be refrigerated once opened. Good for 30 days in the refrigerator.
Okay.
But we do have some suggestions to our clients because we often get asked this question. We wanted it to make it as concentrated as possible. So you get a small dose and goes a long way. But if you think you're not going to use it within 30 days, you can freeze it. So make ice cubes, either maybe just your daily dose in an ice cube and fill with water. So you get a purple ice cube in your smoothie or just in your water.
Yeah.
Or freeze half of the bottle just so you don't lose it. It doesn't waste. So we're not really limited by that 30 days, but it's the goodness of it that is sort of like the downside. No artificial preservatives and no natural preservatives either.
That's
Whereas
great. I love the ice cube idea. That's a wonderful idea. Yeah. And where can people find research? You mentioned research on elderberry and antiviral properties. Where can they find research on it?
If you go on PubMed, that's a big bank of research, and they have research that's more like medical, for like different surgeries and things like that. But there's so many plant research as well. So go in there and enter the elderberry, and you'll find many studies showing the antiviral properties of elderberry. It's a really nice bank of information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jacinthe,
My
for joining us today. I learned so much about, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, can I show you this little one too?
Yeah.
This is also an elderberry syrup, but this is your nighttime version. So you can take the others all day, but when it's nighttime, you get the same wholesome benefits that I mentioned earlier. Plus, you also have great herbs that help, put yourself in a mood where you fall asleep. Like, I won't say all the herbs, but, chamomile, linden, there's a few of them. And it comes in 3 different bottles because it's one per age group. That way we're sure that it's efficient for everyone in the family. And those are also good for 3 to 4 years. So a nice kit is sort of like the daytime and the nighttime one. And you keep the night one for helping sleep at the same time as help the throat and help the other symptoms of cold and flu.
So when somebody's up coughing through the night or has that tickle in their throat and they have a hard time falling asleep, that would be a lovely one to turn to.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed learning about elderberry. I actually didn't know a whole lot about elderberry, so it was really fun to learn all about it. Now I'm feeling totally passionate and interested in doing some research and learning more and using it more frequently as well.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Elderberry is definitely a big passion here. And if you ever get the chance to see elderberries when they're in bloom, I'm sure you guys have seen pictures that we've shared. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I hope more and more people plant elderberry all over Canada.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks everybody for joining us at the Natural Food Pantry Education Initiative. For more information videos like this, please visit our YouTube page and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Stay healthy, everybody.